Hello again. In this video, we're going to create an application to access a database and retrieve some data from it and show the details of the items of the database. The database is going to be the Sakila database. You can just Google it, and the first link would be the Sakila sample database. And here in installation, as you can see, this is from the website of Oracle of MySQL. And yes, Sakila database is a sample database that we can use with MySQL database server. And we're going to use MySQL database in this video to show you that it is almost the same to use a database with Dapper from whatever database server. So to download the database, the sample, you just go click in this link. Yep, and here we have MySQL, some sample guides from sample databases from MySQL from Oracle, and here we have the one I have, the Sakila database. We just click the zip file and extract. You should two files, okay, and I'm going to just recreate the database, the schema, and then insert the data from a MySQL workbench, which I should have installed already in my machine with MySQL Server version 8.0. Yeah, okay. So for that, from workbench, MySQL workbench, I will just open the scripts and go to the Sakila DB, Sakila schema. We'll open it and execute it. Let's check it. The schemas, refresh, and yeah, the Sakila database is here with the tables, but the tables are empty. So now what I have to do is insert the data from the sample database. Okay, this is the data all with all the inserts, and I think everything's ready now. So we could have some data from the film. Yes, so we have 1,000 films. Yeah, and what I'm interested in is in the film and the category tables, because okay, we're going to create an application that filters from category and shows the film from every included in every category. It's good also to have the diagram of the database. I will need just the film, the category, and the film category relationship database. This is the film category. It's a many-to-many relationships. Because of that, we have a film category linking both tables. Okay, I'm going to do one more thing, and it's to create a user in the database server in MySQL server to connect from my application. Yeah, I'm not going to use the root connection here. I am connecting with the root connection, but I will always have to use different users from every different applications I have in my SQL server just for security purposes. What I'm going to do now is just create a admin user for the Sakila database. So I will add a new account. So Sakila admin is gonna be the username. Okay, I will say it's local host. It can access only from this local host, and I will set a password. Okay, so yeah, good. And remember, don't forget to add for this user. Yes, well, let's click apply. We have the Sakila admin, and remember to add the privileges to the schema you want. Okay, we want this user, the Sakila admin, to have all privileges, and in the selected schema, in the Sakila schema. So we should, if we were doing it more correctly, we should create different database users for the different queries, just read-only queries or read-write queries, etc., read-update queries. But okay, let's use this one for the sake of simplicity. And okay, so I will grant all privileges to the Sakila admin user. Yes, let's apply, and I think that will be all for this one. Let's try the connection from this user. If I go to the database, connect to database, okay, I'm gonna try to connect to the local host in port 3306 with the username Sakila admin. Okay, we'll use the password I have just provided. And the default schema will be that I want to connect to the Sakila schema. Okay, so it has connected. Yeah, schemas. It's got connected to the schemas, and let's see if I can do a query. At least, yes, I can query. So it seems the privileges or the grant privileges are working correctly. Good. So I can close this root connection now and just stay with my Sakila admin connection. So remember my credentials and the session. So I am connecting from localhost to port 3306 with the login user Sakila admin and the password. And I think that's what we need to build the connection string. Next thing, once I have my SQL server set up, is to create a new Visual Studio solution or project, a WinForms project. This is going to be our user interface to the Windows Forms app.network.net framework, and I'm going to say Sakila Films. I'm going to call it Sakila Films and the WinForms UI, and this is going to be the Sakila Films raw app. This just created. So in this main form, okay, this is going to be the main form. What I want to do is, from a combo box that will appear all the categories, and we have them in here. And when I select a category in the combo box, I'm going to show them in a list view. Okay, the list view is the same as the list box, but more advanced. I'm gonna initialize all the names and all the properties, basic properties from the UI, and just get this form ready to start coding our functionalities. First thing we want to do is, when these forms load, query the database, retrieve all the categories which we have available, and populate this control. So write in this control all the categories from the database, and we want to do it in runtime, okay, in code. No, I'm not writing here the items one by one or copying them from the database. Yes, why? Because if we modify the database and maybe add a new category, this way this application should not be modified or should not be updated. So no hard coding, just what I'm going to do is connect when this form loads, all right? Just connect to the database and retrieve all the data and put it in this list, okay, in the items of this combo box. For that, I have to create, well, when are we going to do that? We have, as we have said, in the onload event of this form. So let's create it. Good. We have a main form load, and from here, what we have to do now is like establish a connection to the establish a connection to the DB server, okay, and from there and read category names. Well, to establish a connection, well, the first thing we need, we saw, is a connection string, yes? And where do we store connection strings? In our app config.config file. So let's gonna write here the connection strings, as we have seen before. And here we will add a new one, name, we want to say Sakila DB. We will name it a connection string, and the connection string. Okay, this is the connection string we have to write for our application to be able to connect to the machine, the name of the machine, the port of the machine, and the credentials. And we saw how to do it to Microsoft SQL Server. But we don't know how to connect or what connection string we have to use to connect to a MySQL server. But we saw a video looking at where we could find how to build a connection string. It's in the connection strings. Yes, in the connection strings website. So let's see how from this side. Let's find out how to build, in what format to build, okay, in MySQL, a connection string from .NET. Okay, remember always we are working from .NET framework, and so here we have some the basic samples. The standard is I have to use the server, my server address, semicolon, the database, my database, the UID is my username, and the PWD is my password, okay? And here I have another option that is specifying the TCP port. By default, MySQL, as you remember, is installed in the 3306 port. If you don't have changed it, if you have installed it in another port, or you have it listening in another port, you can use this connection string. Let's use this one. Either, although we have the default port, but okay, let's use this one to build our connection string. So okay, first thing I'm gonna do is my server address. As we have seen in here and we have configured, the server address is localhost, okay? That means the server is running in the same machine, okay? This application is gonna be being executed. So localhost, yes? In which port is it listening? In the 3306, but in the default port, sorry. Good, okay? If any of you has got it listening or installed in a different port, just configure it here. The database name is the Sakila DB, if I'm not wrong. Yes. No, it's just Sakila, no DB. So that must be changed. The UID is my username. Remember, we have created a specific user, Sakila admin, and the password is the password we used for the admin. I used this simple one, and with that is all for the connection string for the Sakila DB or for MySQL server in a local machine. Next thing we have to do, is retrieve this connection string, because here I want to establish a connection. So let's create and we're gonna retrieve it. We have to retrieve it from the app config file, and if you remember, for that we have the configuration manager. It is squiggled in red here because we have to include a namespace, which is the using system.configuration namespace, and that is where is the configuration manager. And in the configuration manager, to access the connection string, we just say connection strings object and the connection string Sakila DB and connection string. Yes. So now in here I have the connection string. This value here, which is the one I'm going to use. I have to use to connect. And now I have to establish a connection. But as we are using a MySQL server, the way to establish a connection is different than from Microsoft SQL Server. We need to be able to access a MySQL server from our application, we need to install a NuGet package, which is the MySQL driver from this for this application. In this application, so to install a NuGet package or a new reference, I click on the in my project. There's a folder called references, which is other DLLs or projects I have to use or libraries I want to use, and I can install a lot of different new DLLs or helper classes from the NuGet packages. So I just click NuGet packages, I select browse, and yes, MySQL. I click MySQL, and it's gonna be the first one. It appears, okay, MySQL.data. This is the NuGet package I have to install. It's got all these dependencies. It's gonna install some more packages. It depends on, but everything is good after that. Okay, it's gonna say okay, this is installing these other ones I need for running at the same time MySQL.data. So I said okay, I'm okay, I accept with that. Let's install everything. You see the references, new DLLs, a lot of DLLs are now being installing here. And yeah, now if I see, I have installed here a lot of NuGet packages, let's say. And I can close this here, and now I can create or open a MySQL connection. It is called MySQL, okay, from the MySQL, yes, now data package or namespace. It's gonna be a MySQL client, yeah, it's gonna be a MySQL connection. This is the class that is gonna be representing a connection to a MySQL server, and so this is the one we have to use here to our variable. So we will create a connection, and usually we have to say new MySQL data connection, and you see, if we see the overloads, it's a constructor without parameters and a constructor with a connection string. This is the one that we want to use with this connection string. So connection string. Yes, good. Now you see, this is in green. This is the class we are using, and we have all this data here, yeah, and all this data here, which is the whole path in the namespace naming system that is using to that. We can just leave this like a MySQL connection, like here, okay? And why is it yelling at me and saying, I can't find a MySQL connection? This is the same again, because I am not using the classes. If I say use, okay, these using statements are like use all the packages or classes that are in this namespace here. So I can either, you see now, it is more grayed out because it is not necessary, because I already did it inside here. All these using statements, what are they are doing is that it's just allowing me to use directly the classes I need without having to write at the beginning all the namespace. Good. So with that, I should, if it works correctly, I should have a connection to this, to the database. And now I could query the database with Dapper, as we did it in previous videos. So what do we need? So I need my string MySQL command. Okay, I'm not gonna create in this video stored procedures. Okay, it's an exercise for you just to build stored procedures, because I'm just gonna write them here for testing purposes. Directly. First thing I want to query is I want to do this thing here. Yes, same here. Select all from Sakila category. In fact, not select all. I only want the name column. Okay, the name of the categories, because in this we have said in this combo box or in this drop down, and one is when I drop it, I drop down it, I open it. Only the name of the categories will be shown, and I can select the category I want, and here the fields from that category would be shown. In this way, okay, I just can write, okay, select not all, yeah, but name, yes, from Sakila category. Okay, what is this gonna return? If you see, if we do it here, the same, select name. Okay, let's use the inverse quotes, inverse single quotes in MySQL server. That, remember, it's the equivalent of using square brackets in our Microsoft SQL Server for the reserved words of the servers. So this is going to return what? A table, which is a unidimensional, one-dimension table. It is just a list of strings. Okay, this is going to return a list of strings actually. So what I want, the result from here is going to be a list of strings. Yes, films. Okay, to resolve films. New. So I'm going to create a container, a list of strings, just to, oh, sorry, not the films, the categories. Categories. Yep, it's all the categories. Okay, from the Sakila, not the films. The film will come later. And in the categories, I have to use now Dapper, okay, to populate it, to get it from the database. By the way, I haven't installed Dapper, so what do I have to do? Again, in the Nugget packages, the references, Nugget packages, go find Dapper, which is a micro ORM, okay, object relational mapper. You will see why, because it's mapping relations from our database server to objects in our application. Okay, let's install Dapper. Good. Okay, it seems it's quick. It works quick. And to use Dapper, remember I have also to using Dapper. Yeah, that's simple like that. And from now here, I can already start saying connection dot query, which is the functionality Dapper is waiting to us. And you see, now we want a list of a string. What is the object type? Okay, I have to say to Dapper, which is what I want the result, which is going to the result being given to me. It's strings, okay, a list of strings. So it's going to be, I'm going to query asking for a string, yes, or a list of strings. And the query will be the SQL command in here, okay? As we saw before, this returns an IEnumerable, okay, interface, and we have to convert that IEnumerable to a list. For that, we use just the toList method from LinQ that we will see what it is, but from now we just convert this to a list, and we have now that way we can put inside categories, okay, the result from the query. So I'm saying, please return a list which is going to be of type strings, yes, into categories. And what I had to do with the categories now, let's just tidy that a bit. Well, with my categories, I have to, okay, set them in here. Yeah. So as you see, this has an items property, which I can just populate for, like with a for each. Okay, string category in in categories, yes, and so the combo box was the category combo box dot items dot add, and just I add the string, the category in this case. Yes, good, and see if it works. Well, finally, remember, okay, I am opening a connection. This is establishing some resources like pointers to some files, etc. I have always to close the connection. Okay, connection dot close, yeah, and this closes the connection and releases all the resources, which is using the RAM and file pointers to this, to that, to the database and to the files and to all the resources they need. And also the connection dot dispose, okay, to delete the connection object. This is the first time we see that. In fact, if you remember, in the previous videos we used here, we enclosed all this code inside a using statement. The using statement is very important because what it does is calls these methods automatically. In fact, to be truth, it calls the dispose method, and the dispose method calls the close method by default. So, for you not to forget calling this close or the dispose method, okay, it is always recommendable to use the using statement to enclose this whatever connection, even if it's a database connection or a connection to a socket or whatever, inside a using statement. Okay, that you are not prone to errors. Okay, because of not remembering to close the connection. So let's just comment this out. okay, and close this. Oh, sorry. Surround with a using statement. Yep, and the using line, if you remember, what was using line was when we established the connection. Yes, so we are saying here that in this way we are explaining why are we using in the previous videos and why we are going to use all the using in case here, in case an exception. Imagine, well, sorry. Imagine I'm not inside the using statement, and this query generates an exception. Okay, and if it generated an exception, the close and dispose will not be called. Yeah, so this connection will be kept open, and the resources assigned to it will be in the system, occupying some space. Inside the using statement, even though this throws an exception, always the last thing it does is, okay, it will catch the exception and all this, but finally when it reaches here, this is gonna free up all the resources. Okay, this is using what is inside the parentheses, yes, which is this connection, this object. It's gonna close the dispose method on this object always. So even if we forget, or even if we throw, or if it's thrown an exception, by using the using statement, we are safe. This is the safe way to do it. So from now on, okay, remember always to open the connections to the database inside a using statement, and delete this and work as usual. What else? Okay, let's run it and try see if it's working properly as it should. Remember, it has to appear here. This is when the application starts, and when the form loads, this must be populated. So let's just start, establish a connection to the database, and here it should appear. Okay, perfect. We have the first part of the application working, and now what we should do is, when I select one of the items from here, is all the films which are in the database from this category must appear. We want a list of films from this database which are stored in the database corresponding to this category. Let's go for it. The first thing I'm going to do is to build the query I have to run against the database server to get the desired data. And I'm going to do it in Workbench to make sure it is a valid and error-free query when I run it in my code. So what we want is data from these two tables. Well, these three tables we have said. From the film and category. I want to know the list of films, select whatever, the title, the title, whatever more fits, from some tables, okay, the film and the other two, okay, and the filter will become here in the where. In the where, I'm going to say where the name, the category name is category.name equals, for instance, action. Yeah, we have seen. So we have these categories: action, animation, children, classics, and my queries. Okay, this parameter here is gonna be, I'm gonna have to pass it, this argument, to the function that is going to handle, is going to execute this query here. So first of all, I have to see what to include in here, yeah, to get a list of the films, all the films that are of action, of the action category. or of the children category, the one I pass here. So let's see what I have to do. I have to use to append this data, okay, to this data, I have to join the three tables, okay, because the film and category tables are related through the film category relationship. And I have to do that by joining, first of all, I have to join these two tables, all right? And by which field of the database, of the tables, film ID is in films and film ID is in film category. And then I have to join this one to the result of this other join here. So I have to join the three. By which field? So by the category ID with the category ID of the category table and the film category. Okay, I will have to do these two joins. Okay, this one here and this one here. And then I will be able, thus I will be able to access, all the data from the three tables. Remember, joining means like appending to the list of fields of a table, appending the other information, the fields that are in the other table. So I would be able to access the name of the category also from this list, and also the title of the film, the description, the release year, and wherever we want. Let's just make the joins, and then we will select the data we want. Good. From where? So I want to join film inner join. Film inner join film category. Film category on film ID equals film category dot film ID. Yeah, I have my first join here. These two tables, I already have one. And then this one, I have to, at the same time, join it, inner join, category on film category dot category ID equals category dot category ID. Good. Here I have already the access to the fields of the three tables, of my three tables. Yeah, the film table, all the fields of the film table, of the film category, which I don't need any one of that. This is just a table to relationate these two, and the category, which I want one of them, the name of the category, to use it in here, in the where clause, the where condition. And now I can select what information I want from my film. Yeah, let's just do as an example. Let's just check the film ID, the title, the description, and the length. Okay, the length of the minutes that is last I film or a movie. Let's say it here. Okay, so let's select film ID, film title, film description, and film we have set length. Yeah, perfect. So this is my query. Okay, let's see, let's execute it and see if it works. Yeah, it's working properly. It seems it's working properly. And all these films, which are 64 rows, are of the action category. Let's change it and try the children category. And okay, I have now 60 rows returned, 60 films, yeah, with different size. We have to notice that the results, every line for each film, what we are having is not only a string, not only an int, but a set, yes, of 4 data. It is for every line I have an int, a string, another string, and another int, and that is for every film. So the query is returning, okay, lines which represent a film, and to get that film and use this particular information of every film in my data, I will have to create a model. I cannot put all the information of this line in a string. Well, I could, but it is not how this works, okay? We are going to have to declare a new class and to create objects of this class, of that new class, to map, to represent every one of these lines. So to make a model of to represent the films. Good. Now I have a working, and I have tested. This query is working. So if it works in Workbench, it must work. Okay, it must work from my application. Let's go to Visual Studio and see how can we execute this query and retrieve the results it gets. In Visual Studio, then, to create a model, we just create a new class. Just right-click in the project, add new class, and we will say the film model, as we have seen. Make it public and write some props. Yeah. First thing I have is the ID. Okay. Second thing is the title, the film title. Description. And the length of the movie and the length of the film. That is, what I'm doing is getting these results from here, and every line of here, I am mapping it to an object of this class. You see here, that there is what I'm gonna do, and the whole table I'm gonna map it or store it where? In a list of objects of film model. Yes, this is the data structure which is going to contain this one list of film model is going to contain this table in the form of a list of objects of type film model. And where am I gonna write this code? Well, in my main form, I have to associate or to write this code in an event handler. Okay, to what event is gonna be the responsible to manage this information, or what event is gonna trigger that when I select category from this dropdown, or in this combo box, the data appears here. So this is going to be in the default event for the combo boxes, okay, which is the selected index changed. Okay, so every time I select one, so every time I select a different category, the selected index change, and here this event will be triggered, and I will have to refresh the information shown in the list view, which will be the list of films corresponding to the category I have selected. Let's write then our event handler code. Paste this connection string, this first line I'm using, establish a connection to the database, okay, and what, be careful not to miss any closing curly braces. And inside here, right, let's build the string SQL query, which is gonna be what? It's gonna be what we have written in SQL Workbench. Good. Copy paste, and here we are, like this, readable. And well, what we have to set in here is not a hard-coded category, but the category I have selected in my combo box, which is named category combo box. Should be the property, for instance, the text. And don't forget, this is a string, so it has to be enclosed in single quotes. Next thing we have to do is just create the list of film model where I want to get the result. New list of film model, and let's query the database equals connection dot using Dapper, and I want, okay, a list of what? This is, remember, this parameter in here is the base type I want the result to be. This is film model, okay? Because I want a list of film model. This is the one of the list. So it's gonna be the lines. It's gonna read the lines, every line. I'm mapping it to a film model object. So remember what is inside in this parameter. This, and the SQL query in here. And remember, the query returns an IEnumerable, but we want a list. An IEnumerable is an interface, okay? But we have to convert it to a list. And for that, we always use the toList method of linking, C#. Now I have my film. I should have my films, okay? The list of films of the category selected in the film structure, and what I have to do is just to show it in this list view. That, by the way, it should be called something like films list view. List views have an items property like these boxes, and then we just have to iterate through this films list. Is it film model, film in films, items, now Visual Studio is yelling at me. It's complaining, saying that the add method for the items collection is not a string. This is because this view doesn't know how to translate an object of type film model to a line of text directly. A list view, as a list box, is in its basic form shows lines of text. So we have to indicate how we want an object of type film model to be represented as a line of text, or what is the same as a string. There are a couple of options. What I could do is to build a string just here like this. But there is a more elegant, a better solution, which is to override the toString method of the film class. And I say override because film objects already have a toString method. Every class in C# derives or inherits from the object class, which has already got a toString method. That is, if I click here a film and I click dot, you see I have the properties and you see these methods in here. Okay, I haven't written any methods in my film model class. Yeah, why is it they're appearing here, these four methods? This is because they are defined in the object class, and as I said, every class, okay, my film model class, is inheriting these methods from the object class. And because of that, as the object class has got already a toString method, if I want to use it in my film model class, I have to override it. How do we override a method from a base class? We just, using IntelliSense, you just can write override, press tab, well, press, and it will appear, yeah, a list of the methods of my base class, which you see here is object, that I am allowed to override. So if I just select with the tab the toString method, right? You see, if I leave it like this, the result will be the same because I am calling from our base class the toString method. What I have to do is just create the string I want and return it from here, including these properties there, which is the same. Okay, this is the same string we built just a minute ago in here. You see? Just copy it, paste it in my overrided toString method. Of course, I don't have the object here. I'm working inside the class. So let's remove this. These properties are already available. And I can now call the film.toString method, which is gonna show this object represented as a string, represented as text. We should test our application at this point and see if it's working properly or if it's got any errors in it. Okay, I'm gonna start. First thing I have to do is to have in mind what am I expecting, okay, my application to do. So I'm expecting for the list of categories to appear in this drop-down box, and when I select one, a query, this query in the database will be executed. Some results, films, will be returned as a list of film models, and they should be shown in my list view as lines of text. Let's see what happens. Not bad at all. Well, first difference we can see between the list view control and the list box control is that the list view is scrolling our contents, the list of all the films, in a horizontal way, while the list box, you remember, should show the list of films scrolled in a vertical way. But okay, if I just click roll the scroll button, I just select them. But on the other hand, the films are being shown correctly, except for the ID of the film. The title seems quite okay. The description seems good too, and the duration, the length, seems fine for the need. It's just the ID of the films which is failing. Let's debug and see if we can see what's happening, right? Let's just put a breakpoint here, and we could also set a breakpoint in here, and we call it toString method. Well, inside here, let's run our application again. Just choose horror films, and here we are in the debugger, in my autos window. I have my films, so it's 56 films, right? And inside my 56 films, I'm gonna see, for instance, okay, it's getting a 0 already in here, so I know the bug is already in here. I don't have to continue to go on. You see, all the IDs are 0, and they shouldn't. Good. I can stop. Let's see what I have here. Select film and film ID, film length. Okay. I'm gonna try because we haven't mapped. Yeah. We call this property ID, and we haven't. This is not a direct mapping. Maybe Dapper. Yeah. Expected both fields to have the same name, even though they are not in the same case. Yes, so let's see if I doing this as ID. Yes, things are better because for this one it's title and title. Yes, description and length, and description and length. And I think it's going to be the problem. That's going to be the problem. I have to rename this column, my results of the database. This column must be called not film ID, but ID. So I have to map the properties of my model I have created. You see? The properties of the select. These ones must match the name of the properties of the model. Always remember that. We have checked that the case doesn't mind. Yeah, the case. This is an L, lowercase l, and here we have with uppercase L, but it's working correctly with the title and description. But the ID is ID. We were like getting a film ID. These are the headers. You see here the headers for the result of the query. You see, I want here to appear an ID, so I can rename it as ID plus ID. Query again. You see now it's changed, and now Dapper can map the properties of the result of the query, the database, to the properties of the object. I have tell him to store the results. Remember, Dapper is an object relational mapper. It maps objects to relations. The result of a query in a database is a relation. A relation is equivalent to a table. A synonym, a relation is a synonym of a table. So what does Dapper is the result of this, the result of this query, map it to a list of film model objects. Object Relational Mapper, ORM. In fact, it is a micro ORM. Let's try if it was the problem we were having. So to save all, start again, and I'm gonna take out the breakpoints because I'm pretty sure so that was the problem here. Let's see, family, and now we have the ID of every film, title, description, and the duration, the length of the film. By the way, we should have said it's minutes. Like this. Now, I like it. All right. See? Good. We have achieved what's our purpose. We can now browse our database filtered by the category. Well, let's make it the end of the video. It's been finally a long video, but I think it helps you to put together some concepts we have been working with and to understand better what we are doing. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you still haven't subscribed. Like the video, and if you have any doubts, leave some comments in the video or ask in the forums. Have a nice evening, and hasta luego.